Here we are at the entrance to Mount Vernon. I understand it's the most visited National Park Service facility in the United States. George and Martha, these are his step-grandchildren.
Measurements is 6'2", 6'3". Martha right around 5 feet. Now these two children are Nellie Washington, who played the harpsichord beautifully here, and little Washie. Lawrence's work. Remember, his father began the work, his half-brother Lawrence expanded on it. So rather than tear the whole thing down, he built on the existing foundation. They were never corporal punishment as a method of control. He decided not to sell individuals unless they consented to the sale. He allowed people to stay married and not live together, but he would never separate them too far.
Oh, there he is.
Now it's very, very cute because he will take the kids and run them up and down the Bowling Green.
That's the Pied Piper.
Pied Piper. And he'll tell you the history of the piper and the drums.
He's going over to talk to those kids. Pretty constructed of wood, but it looks like it's stone. Pine siding boards were cut and beveled to resemble stone blocks. The color it is today is the last painting ordered by Washington in 1796, and it's kind of sand color. Wood, but it looks like stone. Side is painted, and this is wood and painted, and then crushed sandstone is pushed into the wet paint. The new room, this was the last addition and the grandest space in the mansion. 22 feet wide and 30 feet long, which was bigger than most homes in colonial Virginia. It was used as a receiving area for visitors and also for large parties. The painting of Louis XVI was a gift from the French ambassador in 1791. Rebuilt, here's a view of the Potomac.
15 miles upriver from here is Washington, D.C. 60 to 70 miles downriver is Pope's Creek Plantation, where General Washington was born.
Were always in a separate building away from the main house to protect against fires. At Mount Vernon, 2 meals were prepared daily: breakfast at 7, dinner at 3, tea around 6:30, and occasionally supper around 9 o'clock. This is a smokehouse. Got a fire down there, make a lot of smoke. Hang all the meat in here till it's good and smoked. What you do when you don't have a refrigerator.
Dawn till dusk. Every load of laundry took 29 gallons of water. They had to be boiled. They had to use lye, which is very caustic, so you better know what you're doing or you're going to end up with a nasty burn. The well is right there. So these two women would be responsible if they could carry 2 gallons. That's heavy. Last I checked, a gallon of water is heavy. They would have to bring 28 or 29 gallons to create the heat, to create the conditions to do the laundry. Brickwork. Now, back in the colonial days, one of the things you're going to look, the people when they come to visit, they want to see what kind of brickwork that you laid out. And to have this kind of bricks going along like this, and then the shorter ones, not quite a Flemish bond, but a bond that would require more money and more skilled craftsmen.
It smells like a stable or stalls. Lower kitchen garden. Vegetables and fruits. Apples,
Now, they probably told you a
espalier.
little bit about Mount Vernon Ladies Association in restorations of a colonial garden, a kitchen garden in the country. They're very careful about trying to recreate the plots. Now the terraces were here, and it goes all the way down. So this was a working garden, and this was Martha's job to manage this. Here, the boxwood, right, very much like a British country garden would have about 8-foot ornamental border. Now, this would have been where different ornamental trees were, or plants were displayed. The center would have been turned over again to vegetables. May have been some fruit trees, some of those cherries, right? Washington. There's a stove room on the other side, which kept the floorboards warm enough so that plants could overwinter. He would be given plants from people from the south, from visitors from overseas, and he wanted to be able to show them all.
Even had a couple palm trees, probably from the Caribbean.
Those look like peach trees. But it was rebuilt in the 1950s, late 40s, with brick from the White House. When President Truman was president, literally the White House was having the same problems Mount Vernon is having. The thing was falling apart. I mean, the floor literally collapsed. So they had to do a major renovation. Truman moved out. The bricks that were taken from that renovation are these right here. In that corner, those are the original bricks. But this is a very faithful recreation of what those quarters would have looked like. These would be women who worked in or around the mansion, right? Of the 8,000 acres. So the bulk of his work was in the field. So virtual tour was Washington's personal valet. Stayed with Washington all those 8 years when he was in the Continental Army. Before he helped serve as during the presidency. Udon, who was commissioned by the Virginia State Assembly to do a fine marble statue. So he came here to do a life mask.
Original.
But you can see how Washington asked for a bird in flight carrying an olive branch. The darker color would be indentured, and then the family members who lived here. See how it's preserved in this case. It's at an angle to take the pressure off of the threads. She had her social circle would do quilting.
Revolutionary War encampment. Nice accommodations. Horses were short, or else those were for mules. My office, not like today. Sutler, I can see he sold alcohol. Would have been at least 2 men per tent. They do have a blanket. 6-man tents. I think they'd have to be pretty friendly to get 6 people in there. They must have been sideways. Over here had beef, fish, rice, beans, peas, and somebody's got to cut the firewood.
By having that centrally located cooking area, you're conserving firewood because it's all right there rather than spread out, and also keeps all the smoke in one place. So you don't want smoke all over camp. That's going to rise and alert people to
Laundry for soldiers. That they didn't have much time to put their clothes in there, and I suppose